experiences have shaped your life? You've heard tonight Jordan talk about his experiences as a teacher, and Ku'u talk about her experiences as a student, and how important those experiences have been in shaping their lives. So I want you to think about what experiences have shaped the path that you're on, your professional path, your personal path. What experiences have made you who you are? And hold those ideas in your mind. This photo was taken more than a mile beneath the surface of the ocean. It was taken from within the Alvin submersible, which is a titanium sphere that can hold 3 people, a pilot and 2 observers, and can go down to the bottom of the ocean, and you can look outside of it and observe what's happening. When I was a sophomore in college, I took a geology class, and our professor, during the unit on plate tectonics, when we were learning about mid-ocean ridges where 2 tectonic plates are spreading apart from each other, and lava comes up and fills the space and makes new seafloor beneath it, he showed us a video that he had taken while he was down in the Alvin submersible of a hydrothermal vent erupting where the seawater that had been trapped in the lava was escaping. It was a black smoker. And I remember sitting there in my geology class, and I think my jaw was probably dropped, because I realized at that moment, that's a scientist, and this is what science is. I had gone through all of my K-12 years. I made straight A's in science, and I thought science was something that came from a book. I thought it was a set of static facts that came from a book. And this guy in front of me was showing me that it was something that was actively happening, and he had done it. He could do it. It was empowering for me in that moment. If this guy could do it, I could be a scientist. And it changed my life. Within a few weeks, I had changed my major, and I became a geologist. I got a bachelor's degree in geology, and I also got a master's degree in geology here at the University of Hawaii. Incidentally, this photo is not a photo that Mike Perfit took. It's a photo that I took when I was down on one of my dives in the Alvin submersible. I was able to go down to the bottom of the ocean. This photo in particular I took while I was the teacher at sea on a research cruise in 2010, and I had the opportunity while on this cruise to connect with my students that I was teaching at the time by emailing, blogging with them, and I was also able to call them from within the Alvin submersible and connect with them. And what I hope I did from that experience was give them a little bit earlier start than I had in realizing what science is and that it's done by real people and that they could do it too. The educator Carl Fish says, "We are currently preparing students for jobs that don't yet exist, using technologies that haven't been invented in order to solve problems that we don't know are problems yet." Frankly, I'm a little worried about our future. In most school systems, we teach students as though all the disciplines are separate from each other. And we teach with a direct instruction in most classes, like Jordan described at the beginning of his teaching career. That's how we're doing it. That's not going to prepare students for problems that we don't know are problems yet. And frankly, they've got to solve some of the ones that we already know are problems. And are we preparing them for that? I think about this question a lot. How do you create schools that adequately prepare students? I've spent a lot of time as an educator, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about how to do it in my own classroom, and then I started thinking more broadly. We've got to create schools. We've got a lot of people to educate. So here's what I've come up with in my time thinking about this question. We prioritize community building to create a culture of intellectual safety. It's important that students feel safe with each other before they can even learn. It's important that we let content experts guide students in developing the skills and tools within disciplines. It's important that students learn some stuff, but that is tied with this one, that we allow students to design experiences and projects that are relevant to their lives. We also have to build in time for ample teacher collaboration to fully utilize the most valuable resources in a school. The people, the teachers, we need to give them time to be fantastic together. And finally, we need to incorporate feedback systems and use the data to continuously improve the organization. Because we need to always be looking at what's working and what's not working. You got it, right? Okay, now you're ready. Now you're ready to lead a school. Right? I mean, I wrote out, I'll just go back for a second. I wrote out all those nice words that are based on my lifetime of experiences thinking about how you create schools. And then I read them to you. Now you got it, right? If you don't, you know what? I can teach you a note-taking technique. All right, I'll make it easy for you. I'll put it in a nice, simple, easy to remember phrases. Community building, disciplinary skills and tools, student-driven experiences, teacher collaboration, and feedback systems. Now you got it, right? If not, make some flashcards. If you make some flashcards, you can study and you can remember these phrases, and then you'll know how we adequately prepare students for this future ahead of us. Actually, you know what? We're fine. This is being recorded. You guys can just go back and watch it, and you just stop it where you need to, take notes, rewind, watch it again. Then you'll be ready. Then you will know everything you need to know. Of course not. We all know that that's not how people learn. There is nothing that I can convey to you in this 15 minutes here that helps us answer that question that's going to take over for my lifetime of experiences or yours. You've all had lifetimes of experiences that have led you to where you are right now and have led you on your path. And there's nothing that I can convey in bulleted points, no matter how nicely they're written, that's going to convey that. It's our experiences that help our learning. So what I'm going to do instead is tell you a little bit about some of my experiences that have shaped me. And I'm going to start with this program called Teachers Across Borders, South Africa. This is a program where Hawaii-based teachers go and spend a summer in South Africa. We lead teacher-to-teacher workshops, middle school math and science workshops. In South Africa, during the years of apartheid, non-whites weren't educated in math and science because they were expected to go into the service industry. But then apartheid ended, and they came up with a new rigorous set of standards that teachers needed to teach from. The challenge was that many of the teachers, especially in rural areas, were now being asked to teach things that they had never had the opportunity to learn themselves. So what we do, our program is led by Eunice Peer. He's a longtime teacher at Punahou, but he's originally from South Africa. Eunice started this group 10 years ago, and we go and we just share. We just share some of our hands-on lessons with them. Well, I did this program in 2008 as a science workshop leader, and I went again in 2010 as a math workshop leader. When we got there in 2010, 2 days before we were ready to start, we're leading our teacher-to-teacher workshops, we found out that our first set of workshops wasn't going to be with teachers, but with subject advisors. Subject advisors, we learned, were like master teachers at the department level, and they were responsible not for teaching students, but for teaching teachers how to teach. And we were supposed to teach them. It was quite a task for a group of teachers that just frankly weren't prepared for it. But we took it on and we made it work. And it was fantastic. And it was a really impressive collaborative experience, teacher-to-teacher workshops. This is a photo of my friend Melissa and I. Melissa and I were the Hawaii-based teachers, and we were showing them where we live on our blow-up globe. Hawaii here, South Africa here, two places about as far away from each other on the globe as you can get. And they were appalled that we lived on this itty-bitty dot in the middle of the huge Pacific Ocean. But what's of note here in the top right, you see that elderly gentleman? That's Kwesi. Kwesi was a quiet, distinguished man who, when he spoke, people listened. And it was a pleasure to work with him, and I learned a lot from him. Little did I know that I was going to get to work with him the next week. We ended up changing our plan again and spending the next week co-teaching with Kwesi. He had a workshop planned with all of his workshop leaders, with all of his teachers. And so we co-taught. We split into two groups. Kwesi and I co-taught together. Melissa and Jim from Hawaii co-taught together. And what I found was that Kwesi and I interacted as though we had been working together for years. Sometimes we were even finishing each other's sentences. And we found that our lessons built on each other. For example, Kwesi had a lesson on measures of central tendency. And he had the teachers line up in order of height. And based on that order of height, he had them count in from the edges and determine who was representing the median height. You see, they had them physically do it. We had them experience it to feel what it meant to do the lesson. And then I had a lesson that built right on top of that, where I had the teachers count the number of steps it took them to get back inside. And we were doing a lesson on data. And we then graphed height versus stride length, and we made a scatter plot of the relationship between those two. The outcome of this was better learning for the teachers from us working together than we could have done on our own. So this was a really important lesson for me in teacher collaboration. Believe it or not, it was my first chance to co-teach. I had dreamed of it with colleagues, but we never had the opportunity given the structures and systems. South Africa was also a personal experience for me. We went to beautiful places on the weekend to relax. I had the opportunity to join a drum circle one evening. I took drumming lessons. I've never thought of myself as a musical person, and I couldn't get this out of my bones. I was drumming on the edge of the car for days. What I wanted more than anything when I got back from this experience was to share it with my students, to have an opportunity to tell them about how important this experience had been for me. But it didn't fit in my chemistry class or my physics class or my algebra class. I wanted the opportunity to community build with them. Shortly after my South Africa experience, I did a program called an Einstein Fellowship, where I spent a year working at the National Science Foundation. It's a program for teachers to have a voice in federal education, federal science policy. It was an incredible experience. We were kind of celebrities. People were listening to teachers for once. It was amazing. And yet, what I learned in that experience is that actually, most of the decision making isn't happening at the federal level. It's happening at the state and local level, and even more at the school level. From this experience, I changed my question from how do we create schools that prepare students to how do we create a school? Because the real change happens at the individual level, at the school level. But the classroom level, we need to get a little bigger than the classroom and go school level. So I thought, I've always wanted to start a school. I don't really know how. I looked into how do I learn the skills and tools, and I found the Harvard Graduate School of Education. I got into their school leadership program. I was so excited, took a picture of the sticker they sent me in the mail. And that was the last time I took a picture before graduation. But this experience was transformative for me, not just because of the classes I took, but because I spent 20 hours a week doing a leadership role in a charter school. I got to experience being a leader. So what I've told you here is kind of a collection of experiences of my life, and I have had lots. I feel like I've kind of told you all the sexy ones, but there's lots and lots of regular, everyday life experiences that I've had with my students, with my colleagues that have shaped who I am. And they collectively have gone into this vision for what makes a great school. And here's the school we're creating, SEEQS, the School for Examining Essential Questions of Sustainability. It's a new 6th through 12th grade charter school. We're starting with 6th and 7th grade in August, 5 weeks away. Here's our vision. We want to incorporate all those bulleted points. They really did have a reason. It wasn't just a setup. I really do believe that all of these things are important elements of a school. And really, how you implement what you value in a school is how you spend your time. So how do you spend your time is the question. And so I'm going to show you what a week at SEEQS looks like. Here's a Monday through Friday, our weekly schedule. And I'm going to show you that we have built in time 5 days a week for community building. Students and teachers doing physical activity together first thing in the morning 4 days a week because it gets the brain juices flowing. And then we have the time to sit in the circle and talk about life on Wednesdays during our day. We also have time for teacher collaboration built into our day 5 days a week because teachers together can be more fantastic than teachers alone can be. My experience tells me that, and every teacher who's had the opportunity to collaborate will tell you that too. We have time built in for developing disciplinary skills and tools. This is what we tend to think of as the role of schools, and of course it's important, but again, only when tied with student-driven experiences. The way we've built this into our schedule is with what we call our essential question of sustainability block. There's a long block of time, multidisciplinary, students and teachers working together, and students are designing their own projects based on their interests. They have a reason to apply the skills and tools they've learned in the morning in these afternoon blocks. And finally, we have time built in for continuous improvement. We have to always be evaluating, especially when you're doing something new. What's working, what's not working, and how do we make it better? We do that every day at SEEQS. So here's what our schedule looks like. We implemented our values. I'm using the current present tense. Move it 5 weeks ahead, and that's the right tense, but we're getting there. We've spent so much time envisioning this, it's like we're already there. We've built our schedule based around what we value in a school. So when I think back to this experience that I had in my geology class when I was a sophomore in college, I think I have spent the arc of the rest of my career trying to make sure that no student graduates from high school. I made straight A's in high school, and I walked out believing that science and history are static and they come from books. And I cannot imagine our future I cannot imagine our future with students that have that kind of experience, because our students, they've got a tall task ahead of them. They've got to solve problems that we don't even know are problems yet, and those that we do. So when I think about what it is that makes a learning experience, I want you to go back to what is it that shaped your life? Is it some facts that you learned from someone else's experience, or is it your own experiences? And once you have those experiences, then you're ready to maybe learn some facts from someone else. So my takeaway message is we have got to create those experiences for students. Not just the teachers, not just the educators, but the parents and anyone who cares about our future. Anytime you're sharing information with someone, think about trying to help create that experience for them. Got it?